Okay, hi. I hope everybody's doing okay. I am still waiting for a few people. They may or may not show up. I'm gonna go ahead and record anyways because that's what I do. And then I will pass it on. So let me get everything set up here. Okay. So what I'm gonna start with and why I'm holding this coffee conversation, I wasn't sure of a good name for it, but that was my title. So this is what I'm seeing. See, make sure everything is recording here so that everybody can see this. Okay. All right. So something I'm seeing a lot on LinkedIn, and I'm going to read these out so that I don't waste too much time is so um people don't feel, and they're saying that organizations don't care about mental health or their employees. Hear what employees are saying. One, they talk about mental health, but the workload never changes. Two, it feels performative. There are posts and campaigns, but if I actually say I'm struggling, will it hurt my career? For some, it has. So they're going into a new organization with that fear. I'm learning, I have experience in this. So I can see what people are saying and explain it a little bit better here. Leadership feels disconnected. We fill out surveys, but nothing changes. They advertise flexibility, but you're quietly judged if you use it. I have experience in that as well. Burnout is normalized. Exhaustion is treated like commitment. And that's for team leaders as well. They put in extra time. They work harder. They take extra tasks to relieve another person. Yes, there's an EAP, but having a program isn't the same as feeling supported. For me, we were shown where to go to get the help if we needed it. There is a lot of navigating when told to go and seek time management during a busy time. It seems a little bit more overwhelming, and I think people just go forth and do it the only way they know how. So I think that they need a little bit more support. And this is why I'm having these conversations and trying to get more awareness out. There's little understanding for parents and caregivers, especially working moms. I get it. I've heard it. Why should you be different? Um, yeah, I guess nobody knows the other side of the story, right? So there's working parents, and then there's people with elderly parents that they're taking care of as well. Everybody's story is different. There's toxic positivity. Be grateful. Others have it worse. That shuts down people. Managers aren't trained to recognize burnout or have hard conversations. I think that they try at times, but they shy away from it, and they don't have the guidance or the training themselves. So we have to give a little bit of leeway. I'm not sure if you can hear the kids, but I'm at the library in the office, and libraries aren't as quiet as they used to be when I had to be in the library. um, and then there's no accountability at the top. High performers get protected even if they create harm. Yeah. So that brings a big one. I was in an office where, you know, I've mentioned before that the high performer or the person at the top was very she came off very abusive and angry and irritable, but she was struggling too, and she didn't have the support that she needed. And I hear this time and time again that, the team leaders tell us to get help, and yet they struggle all the time, and that reflects down. So it's being passed down from the leaders. And I see that, and eventually, like I said, the woman left the job. Sorry, I had it on the wrong page the entire time with my questions. And it's rough. It's rough. Again, we don't want to go into too much detail, confidentiality, etc. But when the woman or the employee or the team leader, and I'm not even going to just say woman, the reason why I do bring women in to play is, again, I think we all know that I specifically help women who struggle with alcohol recovery and moms, the stress, the struggles, and form a safer way to ask for help, communicate. Everybody is different. And this is why sometimes it's very hard for me to talk about. And this is why I ask for people to come in. Unless I'm presented with a question, I can't give an answer. Or I just talk like this. And this is why I do a lot of scripting, is I present the question to myself and then I try to figure out, okay, so how would I? But again, everything changes. So I'm going to answer these questions here the best that I can and with my experience. And then maybe next week when people show up, because I have this coffee chat going at 2 p.m. next week, which might be a little bit more accessible to some people. So I have a lot of people in BC and Alberta that might be a little bit behind time here. So what feels hardest about managing stress, workload, or expectations at work right now, regardless of role? I think my biggest stressors, especially at the office, was leaving home at home and dealing with the tasks at hand. Having to juggle both. Oh, give me 1 second here. Somebody's at the door. Okay, sorry about that. Again, so what feels hardest about managing stress, workload, or expectations at work right now, regardless of role? I think it's keeping up with the deadlines, what's happening after work. No matter what role you're in, there's constant pressure to keep up. Deadlines, they don't go away. Emails pile up. And even when you're trying to set boundaries, it often feels like there's no breathing room. I remember going away for a week on vacation and I came back, I had 100 emails waiting for me. And I was asked a question without going into too much detail. I was asked a question of something I had never been trained in. And I got reprimanded later and told, well, you should have caught up before you went. In accounts payable, you're never caught up. So when employees are asking, well, how would you do this? And you get a shoulder shrug. And I'm being honest, down, forth, straight up. Getting a shoulder shrug is not the answer. And so I don't know if this is a training thing, if this is, I don't understand your role problem. I'm not really too sure, but it's exhausting. You're trying to do your best while also feeling like you have to prove yourself all the time. That stress doesn't disappear around 5 p.m. and it follows you home. And I think the hardest part is balancing it all without feeling like you're falling behind. And when you're told that you have to keep up, and possibly I overreacted when I said, well, what was I supposed to do? Work on my vacation? Because accounts payable never stops. You know, when you're doing over 100 invoices a month and you go away for a week, it's going to be caught up. And I think there's proper training that needs to be established as well when it comes to going on vacation. So I believe that there's a huge communication gap here. Again, though, I hope that somebody can either email me or message me their thoughts after reading this or even commenting, because I will be posting this as well unless somebody shows up. Where does support feel well-intentioned but disconnected from real day-to-day experience? So I wrote this down because, again, there's a huge gap and I don't want to be talking for hours. So And then there's the support. So I'm just going to go from what I've written down because I write down everything that I say. This is how I have to do things. It's well-intentioned, but it always doesn't connect to the real day-to-day experience. For example, there may be mental health webinars, online resources, or programs that sound great on paper. I've done those, but they don't change the constant workload. They don't help with the time management so much, the back-to-back meetings, or the pressure to always be on. It can feel like there's support, but it's not meeting people where they actually are. And that's in the middle of their workday, juggling tasks, deadlines, real stress, and then also thinking about the appointments of the kids, school, appointment. There's just, we're bombarded. We're told to leave things at home. And I think that it's easier said than done a lot of the time. What do people tend to cope with quietly instead of asking for help with? Tasks. I never had a problem asking for help until I was denied help. And again, I think this is a training. I do believe we do need to learn on our own. We do need to learn from our mistakes. However, and I'm really interested into hearing what other people have to say about this. When a mistake is made due to a gap in the training, I think how it's approached or spoke about needs to be calmer. I don't know if all organizations are like this, but in my experience and others' experiences, it's caused stress because it's been public humiliation. It's been brought forth in front of teams. You're held accountable, and I get the being held accountable part. If you have worked in a different organization that does it differently and you've never been taught otherwise, and you've asked and you're told do it the way you know how, then I feel like that's no longer the employees. They're no longer accountable. They're not given the way that the organization wants to be done. Asking for something else. So at a home, okay, for an example, the school strike, I worked at an office building and my son wasn't allowed to go to the daycare for lunch. I had to go and be with him for the lunch hour until he was allowed to go back to school. So it was just lunch hours. And so I had to travel an hour away, and I asked, can I work from home? Because we could work from home. And I was denied that because the other girl would need it. And upon explaining that the other girl's daycare was right across the street and the child could go there for lunch, she didn't need to go home. I wasn't too sure why this was an issue. I let it go though. And I traveled through construction and added 6 hours to my week. And I'm not sure if that should be something that a person should be upset about. I am a single mom. I don't want to cause problems. No one does. We put our heads straight forth and just go through it. Is this something? Is this a reason? What do other people have that they are scared to ask for help because of something that happened before? What conversations feel unsafe, rushed, or avoided in the workplace, even though they matter? Something as simple as what I was just talking about, or again, people who seem stressed and overwhelmed, leaning into that uncomfortable conversation and saying, hey, you seem to be overwhelmed, or, the office, maybe bringing up the office has been really busy and it's been a little overwhelming. Is there anything that you want to talk about, instead of saying, you seem overwhelmed, go to such and such a site and see if you can get help or speak with a counselor. That's great news. Great information. I think it's how it's spoken about and addressed that might be an issue. And again, it's leadership, it's communication. Everything is about communication from what I've seen and heard. So this is coming from other people that I've talked to. And around alcohol, and this is why I bring up the alcohol. So that's something else that I've seen people get let go due to this instead of having that conversation, and or quit. There's just so much. It becomes a very toxic organization, especially if the person's staying there because they get irritable. I am recovery. I know exactly what I was like. So it's a tough conversation. If support actually met people where they are, what would feel different in daily work life? How would lifestyle fit into this? So we don't know what is bothering a person. We don't know if it's something at home, dealing with their parents, arguments at home, teenagers or kids with physical or mental illnesses, their chronic pain, maybe they have inflammation, headaches. And this is why I'm going into a lot of basic lifestyles. So I'm going to do this at the end. I was going to do this in the beginning and bring the awareness to everyone first to see if they could fit this in, but I'll bring it in towards the end. Give me a second. So I guess where I'm going with that too is if we helped them support the basics in life, such as just physical activity, which I know that there is, when I went and started a new job, they talk about ergonomics, but just basic lifestyle changes. Hey, this is something that's research is showing that a lot of people are lacking. This is causing, chronic illnesses, diabetes, inflammation, headaches, that kind of stuff. If they went into something a little bit more on that, and I don't know what other places offer. I know the organizations I work for did not offer this. I keep looking at my face. Sorry if I'm staring off to the side there. And then there's one of mine. How do you approach a team leader who is clearly struggling? And what would help that leader feel safe, not defensive if someone asked? I've noticed that things feel tense lately. Is there any way I can support you? I believe leaders, especially women now, have been made to hold themselves accountable and be strong and just take care of it all. I was like that too. I thought it was life. We just kept going. I was on autopilot for years, and I believe a lot of women are on autopilot at work and then at home. And if we stop and take a look at what's happening, are we going to keep moving? I think that's a big fear. And we need to learn to ask for help and accept help. And I'm going to actually bring something up, which is in this one here. I went to a birthday party for a mom, or sorry, not for a mom, but the mom had 7 children, and it was my son's friend's birthday, and the house was chaotic. As soon as I came in the door, she kept apologizing, and I'm like, oh, no. I said, it's normal. I didn't know she had 7 kids yet. But I was letting her know, I mean, even my place is hard to keep, it's no big deal. I offered to help with the dishes. So the kids who kept coming in for the birthday, and she was letting everybody go, and I'm doing the dishes and played with the baby. Her mom came and helped them prepare supper for the boys. And then I took the boys outside because I mean, I don't even remember how many boys. I think there was 5 or 6 of them. And in a house, no, let's go outside. And it was very muddy. I was not prepared for this, but it was fun. At the end, she thanked me. And I'm like, no. I want to thank you for accepting my help. because accepting is a gift to both parties. When we refuse help, the other person has to stand there watching us struggle, and that's so uncomfortable too. I think that shows up at work as well. We don't want to bother other people. Everybody looks stressed. But sometimes by not asking for help, we can cause more conflict and more tension because we're so worked up and we're becoming irritable. That shows, and then somebody else thinks that they've done something wrong. All right, so this was a little quieter. I'm not sure that anybody is going to be showing up today. I hope that next week we're gonna run at 2 o'clock, and I hope that if you're able to watch this, you can take some of the stuff that I've said, and I know it's a little bit confusing. A little bit about me is that I'm just going to pause this for 1 second here and collect my thoughts. Give me 1 second. Okay, I've gathered my thoughts. I wrote them down so I can keep this clear and concise. So earlier in my life, and this is my main goal, and this is why I help women with coping with alcohol and recovery after, and bringing awareness to alcohol being normalized for stress. I used it for 16 years. Long-term alcohol use affected my brain in ways that made speech and word retrieval challenging. I've healed a lot since then, but sometimes I still struggle to express complex ideas as clearly as I'd like to in professional spaces. That's one reason I really appreciate when other people ask questions. It helps me speak more clearly without having to think of the question and find my own words all at the same time. I work way better with one-on-one or speaking to another person. I tend to not do so well on the screen. So anyways, I hope that this brings some kind of information, maybe some other reflection. Maybe somebody will show up next Thursday with a little bit more of what I am trying to get put across. I also want to mention my perspective right now. Much of the burnout conversation focuses on workload, boundaries, and mental strategies, which are all important. But I've been wondering whether we're overlooking some of the basics, and I get this from all of the programs that I have built, working with the reunification program and women, generational gaps in nutrition, physical activity, the basics of nutrition, sleep, hydration, inflammation, physical strain, coping patterns, they're all the same. I really feel like I was talking to this one woman said with the 7 kids, talking about mindfulness, and even her mom. So we don't have time all the time to do this. See 6 things, hear 5 things, feel 3 things, breathe this way, breathe that way. We need something instantly sometimes, like the box breathing that I talk about, or awareness, so that we're practicing it as we do it. We tend to push away that extra time consuming. For me as a mom anyways, I found different ways to do it. But I've also seen how these factors can quietly impact mood, patience, focus, stress tolerance at home and at work. I'm curious, are you seeing any connection between foundational lifestyle factors and how stress or burnout shows up in the workplace? I also notice how stress seems to move in a loop from home to work and back again. What's happening with children, partners, communication styles. I mean, we can't talk at work, with our kids the same way we talk at work. At work, it's more, firm, structured, but with kids, they may take it defensively, or even our partners. Sleep and food patterns, it doesn't stay at home. And what happens at work doesn't stay at work either. I'm interested in understanding that full loop, not just the workplace policies or just the mental strategies, but the whole picture. I've noticed that when foundational needs are strained, strained. Just give me a second here, sorry. Stress tolerance can shift. Again, prevention of burnout. We start to change shift lifestyle, and that'll shift the way things are happening at home. I know for myself with my child, when I communicated to him in a rough manner, it caused argument and stress. And then I was coming to work feeling guilty because I didn't know how to handle the communication style with my son at that moment, that time. I think a lot of arguments at work and at home are caused unintentionally. If we're inflamed and sick or have headaches due to lack of hydration, that's causing an imbalance. So imbalances in the physical body and the mind will reflect one another. So anyways, I hope to see you all next week. Talk to you later. Bye.